The Dallas Cowboys live for drama, but this feels like a soap opera written for primetime television. You've got Jerry Jones, the eternal showman owner who loves the spotlight as much as any player on the field. You've got Dak Prescott, the quarterback whose entire legacy is under a microscope with every throw, every playoff collapse, every lingering contract negotiation of his own. And then you've got Micah Parsons, arguably the best player on the roster, the defensive heart and soul, the one guy you could count on to bring chaos to the other team, not his own locker room. And now, that chaos has spilled inside.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Let's set the stage. Micah Parsons has been frustrated for months. He's watched the Cowboys drag their feet, slow-walk negotiations, and shrug at the idea of paying him top dollar. And not just good linebacker money, either generational, cornerstone of your franchise money. We're talking $42 to $43 million a year, easy. Money that reflects not just his sacks, not just his highlights, but his value as the face of that defense. And what does Jerry Jones do? He starts doing Jerry things. Talking around the issue. Downplaying the urgency. Refusing to even engage seriously with Parsons' agent. That's where this thing got personal. Because unlike other players who can roll their eyes and wait for their agent to handle the dirty work, Parsons has never been one to stay quiet. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's vocal, passionate, and frankly, a little unpredictable. Which makes him a star, yes, but also a powder keg. So when he walked into Cowboys training camp this summer, the tension was already baked in. He wasn't happy. His teammates knew it. The coaches felt it. And then it all came to a head in a way only the Dallas Cowboys could deliver. Parsons snapping in public at not just Jerry Jones, but Dak Prescott too. Now, Dak and Parsons have always had a working relationship built on mutual respect. Dak leads the offense, Parsons runs the defense. But when emotions boil over, when one side feels like they're giving everything and not getting it back, that mutual respect starts to crack. Reports say Dak called Parsons out for being distracted and quitting on the team by letting this contract drama take over his focus. And Parsons? He fired right back. Not just defending himself, but going for the jugular. Allegedly bringing up Dak's playoff failures, throwing those January collapses back in his quarterback's face. And suddenly, this isn't just a money problem anymore. This is a full-blown culture problem. The locker room split immediately. Some guys backed Dak. He's the quarterback, the steady presence, the guy who's had to deal with his own share of criticism. Others sided with Parsons, because when you've got a superstar putting his body on the line every Sunday and not getting the respect he feels he's earned, how can you not understand his frustration? And Jerry Jones? He's up there in his luxury box, brushing it off like this is just another storyline for HBO's Hard Knocks. But insiders are whispering that he's more rattled than he lets on. Because Jerry has always had one unspoken rule: the drama stays in-house. The circus is his to control, not the players. Well, guess what? Parsons has taken the circus tent and pitched it right in the middle of training camp. And the timing could not be worse. The Cowboys are supposed to be in their Super Bowl window. CeeDee Lamb is entering his prime. The defense, with Parsons leading the charge, was supposed to be the best in the league. Dak's contract clock is ticking. Everything feels urgent, and instead of focusing on the field, the story is about a fractured relationship between the team's biggest stars. Let's talk about that trade chatter. Because normally, when a player asks out, teams can laugh it off. But Parsons isn't just any player. He's a generational pass rusher. He's the kind of guy you don't trade, you build statues for. But when he goes public with his frustration, when he makes it clear he doesn't trust the front office, that's when things get dangerous. And you better believe other teams are circling like sharks. The Green Bay Packers? Already rumored. Imagine Parsons lining up alongside Rashawn Gary, turning Lambeau Field into a nightmare for every NFC quarterback. Or what about the Baltimore Ravens, who thrive on defense-first identities? You don't think they'd move heaven and earth to pair Parsons with Roquan Smith? And don't even get me started on the San Francisco 49ers, Because you know they'd love nothing more than to steal Dallas' star and twist the knife in the biggest NFC rivalry. The Cowboys' nightmare scenario isn't just losing Parsons. It's losing Parsons to a contender. But here's the thing, this whole mess isn't really about money anymore. It's about respect. Micah Parsons feels disrespected. Disrespected by Jerry Jones, who won't even sit down with his agent. Disrespected by Dak Prescott, who tried to call him out in front of the team. Disrespected by the narrative that Dallas can just plug and play without him. And when a superstar feels disrespected, they don't just get quiet. They go nuclear. We've seen it before, Terrell Owens with the Eagles, Antonio Brown with the Steelers, Jalen Ramsey with the Jaguars. When players at that level hit their breaking point, there's no going back. And the Cowboys are teetering on that edge right now. Fans are panicking, and rightfully so. Cowboys Nation has lived through decades of dysfunction, of promising rosters blowing up over ego and chaos. This feels like déjà vu. The triplets of the 90s gave way to the endless carousel of underachievement in the 2000s. And now, with the most talented defensive player the franchise has had in years, history is threatening to repeat itself. And make no mistake, if this blows up, it won't just derail this season. It could cost the Cowboys their identity for the next decade. Because if Parsons goes, it's not just a trade. It's a message to the rest of the NFL that Dallas can't keep its stars happy. That Jerry Jones' ego is more important than building a championship roster. That America's team is more brand than substance. The tragedy is that it didn't have to be this way. All Jerry had to do was recognize what he had. Lock Parsons up early, reward his production, send a message that the franchise takes care of its best. Instead, he played games. And now those games might cost him the one player who could have brought another Lombardi trophy to Dallas. So here we are, training camp chaos, a fractured locker room, a fan base in meltdown, and the looming question hanging over everything. Does Micah Parsons suit up for the Cowboys in Week 1, or does Jerry Jones let pride push a generational talent out the door? And even scarier, if Parsons is gone, does the Cowboys' Super Bowl window slam shut with him? Because one thing's for sure, this is bigger than sacks, bigger than contracts, bigger than football. This is a battle for power inside the most famous franchise in the NFL. And right now, it looks like that battle might tear the Cowboys apart. Here's the part that nobody in Dallas wants to admit. Micah Parsons has leverage the Cowboys can't control. This isn't just a linebacker in a contract standoff. This is a global brand in the making, a face of the NFL in the era where highlight clips matter as much as wins. He's not hiding in a small market. He's not a quiet personality who shrugs off attention. Micah is loud, animated, outspoken, and unapologetic. And when you mix that with being one of the best defensive players in football, that's a PR nightmare for Jerry Jones if things sour. Because think about it, what happens if Parsons starts hinting on social media about life outside Dallas? A cryptic, green and gold post. A picture of him wearing a Ravens hoodie. Even something as subtle as him liking a post about Nick Bosa's contract. The internet explodes, fan bases mobilize, and suddenly Dallas looks like the bad guy in the court of public opinion. Jerry hates that more than anything. He thrives when he's the master of the show. But this time, Parsons is the one holding the mic. And let's talk about Dak Prescott's role in this storm. Dak has always been the diplomat, the guy who says the right things, avoids controversy, keeps the peace. But when he stepped up in camp and told Parsons to lock in and stop letting the contract drama distract him, that wasn't leadership. That was gasoline on the fire. Because Parsons doesn't take criticism lightly, especially not from a quarterback who hasn't sniffed an NFC championship game in 8 years. The minute Dak threw down that challenge, Parsons flipped the script. Suddenly, it wasn't just about money. It became about performance, accountability, and who the real leader of the Cowboys is. And here's the wild twist. Some players in that locker room are quietly siding with Parsons. Think about it, guys on defense, the ones who sweat alongside him every week, they know the truth. When the offense sputters, when Dak throws back-breaking interceptions in big games, it's the defense that gets dragged back on the field to bail them out. It's Parsons chasing quarterbacks, disrupting plays, keeping Dallas alive. So when Dak calls him out? Yeah, you better believe some defensive players are shaking their heads, saying, not the guy you want to start a war with. But it's not just a locker room divide, it's an organizational earthquake. Because if the face of your defense and the face of your offense can't see eye to eye, then what exactly are you building? How do you sell team unity when your two biggest stars are sniping at each other? And then there's Jerry Jones, standing in the middle of it all. For decades, Jerry has thrived on chaos. He loves the headlines. He loves the drama. But what happens when the chaos starts threatening his bottom line? Sponsors don't like instability. Networks don't like locker rooms that look like they're imploding. And fans? They're tired. Cowboys Nation has lived through more false hope than any fan base in America. They've seen Dez Bryant throwing tantrums. They've seen Ezekiel Elliott's contract holdout. They've lived through Tony Romo's endless playoff heartbreaks. And now, when they finally have a once-in-a-generation defensive monster in Parsons, they're staring at the possibility of watching him walk out the door because Jerry won't get out of his own way. And let's not kid ourselves. Other franchises are licking their chops. You think the Philadelphia Eagles wouldn't love to see Dallas implode while they slide in and offer Parsons a fresh start? You think San Francisco, who already owns Dallas in January, wouldn't pounce on the chance to stack their defense with him? Even teams with no history against Dallas, like Miami or Buffalo, could turn Parsons into the final piece of a Super Bowl puzzle. This isn't just a Cowboy story. It's a league-wide shakeup waiting to happen. And here's the kicker: Parsons doesn't actually need Dallas. That's the scary truth. He's already a household name. He's already got endorsements, already got his brand, already got the kind of following that transcends wins and losses. He could be on any team, in any city, and still dominate. Dallas needs him more than he needs Dallas. But Jerry Jones can't admit that. Because in Jerry's world, everyone needs the Cowboys. Everyone bends to the star on the helmet. And that's exactly why this thing could blow up. Let's zoom in on the trade rumors. If Dallas even whispers that Parsons might be available, the offers are going to be insane. We're talking multiple first-round picks, cornerstone players, entire defensive packages being thrown at them. Green Bay could dangle Rashawn Gary and premium draft capital. The Jets could ship Quinnen Williams and picks. Even a team like Chicago, desperate for star power, could gut their future for a chance at Parsons. And the worst part for Jerry? If Parsons leaves and immediately wins somewhere else, the stain on Dallas will last forever. Imagine him hoisting a Lombardi in another uniform while Cowboys fans are still arguing about whether Dak deserves another contract extension. That's the kind of nightmare that keeps Jerry awake at night. But here's what makes this all so uniquely Dallas. It's not just about football. It's about ego, image, and power. Jerry Jones has built an empire on the idea that the Cowboys are bigger than any one player. Parsons is challenging that directly. By demanding respect, by clashing with Dak, by threatening to take the circus out of Jerry's tent, he's flipping the script. And let's be real, fans are divided, but there's a strong chunk of Cowboys Nation that's fully behind Parsons. They're tired of the same cycle. They're tired of Jerry playing GM, tired of Dak's playoff shortcomings, tired of being told, this is our year, only to watch another January collapse. To them, Parsons isn't just a linebacker, he's the truth teller, the one guy unafraid to call out the hypocrisy and demand accountability. And if Jerry chooses Dak over Parsons? Oh, you better believe the backlash will be nuclear. Because one thing Cowboys fans can't stomach is watching a superstar walk out the door while mediocrity stays chained to the franchise. This is the heart of the storm. Not just a contract dispute. Not just a training camp scuffle. This is a philosophical showdown about what the Cowboys want to be. Do they cling to the old ways, Jerry's ego, Dak's safe leadership, the illusion of control, or do they embrace the chaos and build around the kind of generational talent that only comes along once in a lifetime? Because make no mistake, Parsons isn't going to shrink. He's not going to roll over. Every day this drags on, the pressure mounts. Every practice rep, every media question, every sidelong glance in the locker room is another reminder that this powder keg hasn't exploded yet. And when it does, it won't just be a headline. It'll be the story of the season. The Dallas Cowboys, America's team, imploding from within, not because of an opponent, not because of injuries, but because two superstars and one billionaire owner couldn't get on the same page. And you know what? Deep down, you can feel it. This isn't ending with a handshake. This is ending with fireworks. Here's the thing about Micah Parsons. He doesn't just play football, he dictates energy. He's the guy who, when he's locked in, elevates the entire Cowboys defense into something terrifying. But when that fire is aimed inward, when it's directed at Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones, or even the locker room itself, that's when it becomes destructive. And that's exactly where Dallas finds itself right now. Because this isn't just about money. It's about a deeper disconnect in philosophy. Jerry Jones has always believed that the Cowboys sell hope, not championships. That's why he hangs onto stars past their expiration date. That's why he markets the team as a spectacle rather than building it as a machine. But Parsons? He's not here for the show. He's here for rings. He's here for dominance. He's here to go down as one of the greatest defenders in NFL history. So when Jerry treats his contract like another negotiation ploy, like another storyline to milk for attention, Parsons takes that personally. To him, that's disrespect. That's Jerry saying, "You're valuable, but only on my terms." Now, add Dak Prescott into this cocktail. Dak has been the steady hand, the face of the Cowboys since Tony Romo hung it up. But steady doesn't win Super Bowls. Consistency gets you 10 wins, maybe a playoff berth, but when it's crunch time in January, that's where Dak has faltered. And Parsons? He's seen it up close. He's lived it. He's been the guy dragging the team into relevance while the offense sputters. So when Dak dares to check him in camp, it feels like the final straw. Parsons doesn't just see a teammate correcting him. He sees the symbol of mediocrity trying to lecture greatness. And that's why the blow-up was so raw, so explosive, so impossible to walk back. Now, let's talk about the ripple effect. Because locker rooms are fragile ecosystems. You've got offense guys, defense guys, special teams, and within that, subgroups. Linemen sticking with linemen, DBs rolling with DBs. The second Parsons and Dak clashed, it split the team. Reports say some defensive veterans backed Micah immediately, saying, "He's earned the right to speak his mind." Meanwhile, Dak loyalists on offense whispered that Parsons was letting his ego get in the way of the team. What you've got now is not one team, it's two factions, barely coexisting under one roof. And the scariest part? No one is stepping in to fix it. Where's Mike McCarthy? Silent. Where's Jerry? Making cryptic comments to the media, brushing it off as passion. But behind the scenes, that tension is real, and it's poisoning the culture. Now zoom out. Think about what the Cowboys mean to the NFL. They're America's team, the ratings juggernaut. Every time they implode, it becomes national news. And right now, the league office is sweating bullets. Because Micah Parsons walking out of Dallas? That's not just a football story, it's a cultural earthquake. If he forces a trade, the Cowboys don't just lose their best player. They lose credibility. They lose swagger. They lose the one guy who made opposing quarterbacks lose sleep at night. And you know who gains? Whoever lands him. Imagine him in Philadelphia, paired with Jalen Carter and that nasty D-line. Imagine him in Baltimore, lining up next to Roquan Smith. Imagine him in San Francisco, terrorizing offenses with Nick Bosa. The power balance of the league shifts overnight. But here's where it gets even crazier. Parsons knows this. He's not playing blind. He understands leverage better than Jerry gives him credit for. He knows he can control the narrative through social media, through interviews, through subtle hints that keep fan bases foaming at the mouth. One post about loyalty here, one comment about wanting to win there, and suddenly hashtag Parsons to Philly is trending before Jerry even finishes breakfast. And Jerry? He's too stubborn to budge. He's too invested in the idea that no player is bigger than the star. But here's the twist. In 2024, Parsons is bigger than the star. His highlights dominate TikTok. His quotes light up ESPN. His name trends even on off days. If Jerry underestimates that, he risks being left behind in his own empire. Let's talk money for a second. Parsons is looking at $42 to $45 million per year, the kind of contract that would make him the highest-paid defender in league history. And you know what? He deserves it. Because he doesn't just put up stats, he alters entire game plans. Teams spend weeks scheming how to keep him out of the backfield, and most of them still fail. That's generational value. But Jerry has boxed himself in. He already has monster contracts with Dak, with CeeDee Lamb coming up, with Trayvon Diggs. The cap is stretched thin, and instead of being proactive, Jerry waited. He waited until Parsons' value skyrocketed, until other deals set the market sky high, until he had no leverage left. And now? He's cornered. Pay Parsons and risk losing flexibility elsewhere, or let him walk and become the most hated man in Dallas. Meanwhile, Dak isn't exactly helping his case. Every pick he throws in practice, every wobble in preseason, every same old Dak moment is magnified because Parsons is looming in the background, watching, waiting, smoldering. If the Cowboys start the season 2-2, if Dak has one of those multi-interception disasters on national TV, the calls will be deafening. Pay Micah. Trade Dak. That's the nightmare scenario Jerry's juggling right now. And he knows it. But here's the kicker. The Cowboys fanbase is already leaning toward Parsons. They see him as the future. They see him as the guy who can transform the team from pretenders to champions. And if Jerry chooses Dak over Micah, if he trades Parsons instead of locking him down, that trust is gone. Forever. Because Cowboys fans have endured decades of almost. They've sat through Romo's heartbreaks, Dez's controversies, Zeke's decline. Parsons was the one thing that felt inevitable, the one guarantee that no matter what happened on offense, Dallas had a game wrecker. To let him slip away? That's betrayal. And trust me, other teams' fans would love it. The Eagles fan base would troll Cowboys Nation into oblivion. Giants fans would mock Jerry for decades. ESPN would run top 10 Cowboys mistakes lists until the sun burns out. So here's where we're at. A generational player ready to cash in, a billionaire owner too stubborn to adjust, and a quarterback whose playoff failures are becoming impossible to ignore. It's the perfect storm. And if you've been watching the Cowboys long enough, you know how this ends. Not with quiet resolution. Not with a handshake behind closed doors. It ends with fireworks. It ends with either Parsons walking out or Jerry caving in spectacular fashion. Because in Dallas, there are no small stories. Everything is a spectacle. And this spectacle? It might just be the one that finally tears America's team apart.